It's Dee on the spot.
Welcome to another edition of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to my guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone to please give a like and subscribe down below. We'd greatly appreciate it. We have Zach Mendoza from the band. He's the bassist at the band Vida Oculta. Zach, how you doing?
Good, man. Real good. Super excited.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in music, what inspired you to get into music, what your influences are, and what you guys are up to currently?
For sure. So I started really young. I grew up in the church, so the church had a band, and I always just wanted to play the drums. So around 8 or 9, I'd start goofing around on it because there's always the kids. The church I went to, it's mainly Hispanic. The kids would play the drums. It's the only instruments that adults would let the kids play. So I started doing that, but I wasn't good enough, fast enough for actual service. So they just let an older dude do it because he could actually do it right when they needed to. So they're like, "Sorry, bro. It's cool that you want to do it and you're so young, but you're just not cutting it right now." So I was pretty salty. So I turned 10. I wanted to play saxophone. Oh, lie! I wanted to play trumpet super bad, super bad. So I signed up for that. I do the whole thing. That was the easiest. I tell my dad I'm going to play the trumpet, and he's like, "No, false, you're playing the saxophone." So he buys me an alto saxophone, and just I remember the school I went to, they were super upset that I was because they were teaching us how to get ready to play a trumpet. I just didn't have a trumpet yet. So I'm learning all this stuff, how to read the music for the trumpet, almost a month in, and then that's when my dad's like, "Oh, you're playing the trumpet?" "Nah, dude, you're playing the saxophone." So they had to one of the teachers had, and it was a big old class of 5th graders, had to take me separate into this off room and teach me a month's worth of stuff as fast as possible. And they made me feel awful about it, and it wasn't my fault, so that just made me feel super bad. So I would go home and practice 5-6 hours a day, every single day, because I just felt super bad. So I did that for 6 or 7 years. I played saxophone super heavy. Did that till I was 13. Started playing the guitar. Got into that real heavy freshman year. I quit symphonic concert band. Sophomore year, I just took guitar really seriously. But then my dad bought my brother a drum set, and it just sat in the garage. And the whole time I was playing guitar, it's man, I really wish I could have just been playing the drums. That's what I wanted to do this whole time. So I think I turned 17, and I'm like, "Hey man, I know these are your drums, but I'm fucking playing them because I need to play the drums. It's not cool. I never got to see if I could do it or not." So I started doing it, and I'm doing it the same when I play sax, man. 5-6 hours a day, just drumming away. And I got pretty good. Moved to a different state. Woodshedded for the whole time I was there. Just 4 or 5 hours a day, every single day. On drums filled with t-shirts and sheets, because it was just my mom gets migraines. Mm-hmm. So I the room I had, it was pretty much just the basement. Mm-hmm. And so I just had this huge room out in Idaho, and I just took all of my drum stuff and filled it with sheets and shirts and blankets. So it just made no noise when you played. I took all my cymbals and just covered them in the same sheets, this weird what's it called? Just a super thick material. It was weird, but I would just play that it was electric drums, just forever all day. I moved back. I joined my first band, which is pretty cringy, just Scene Kid, Asking Alexandria, kind of Attack kind of thing going on. Yeah. You look back and you're like, "Damn, man, you really bought into that." and so I did that. I drummed for that for 2 years. I think 3 years, something like that. It wasn't very long, if 2 years, if that. Didn't really go anywhere with it. We were all super young. We didn't know what was going on. And so that fell apart. Took a big old long break, just working. And then, what was it? I think I started playing disc golf. I got into disc golf really heavy. And in that, someone hit me up. A friend of mine that was in the band, the first band, was like, "Oh, we have a drummer, but will you play bass? We just need a bass player. You should do it." And I just did not want to do it. So he convinced me, so I did it. I played bass for the second band. We have an EP out, What We've Built. Check it out. It's on Spotify and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So I played bass for that. Did that for maybe a year and a half. Same thing. We were all really young, just didn't really know. We just thought, when you don't know, oh, if we just play shows, someone's magically going to see us and be like, "Oh, dude, you guys are fucking signed." And then that just never happened. So It fell apart. And we all like moved. We lived like an hour away, everybody. It's just like, time it was going to happen. Took another big long break. Just kept working. I started cooking, just doing that. And then that's when I got into disc golf, like super heavy. I was just doing that like 5-6 hours a day instead of music. I just took a break. The things I did just weren't working out. So I was like, man, I'll just play disc golf. And the drummer, my buddy Jake, that plays drums in Vida Oculta right now, just hit me up one day when I was just at the bar doing nothing, and was like, hey man, you should play bass for this. I think you'll like it. Just like check it out. So he met me there, he showed it to me, and I was like, dude, yes, this is awesome. So I totally play bass for it. And then fast forward like 2 years, almost 2 years from there, maybe like a year and a half, and just playing bass, doing shows, got stuff going on. As far as like inspiration goes, with growing up in the church, I was like a pretty sheltered child, so all I'd ever listened to was like straight church, like worship music. And then there was like my local station, it's like Hey Love or something like that. It's just like the Christian radio, and so I never really got to listen to like anything like actually cool for a long time until I was maybe like 10 or 11. And I'll never forget it. I stole some CDs from an uncle of mine. It was Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, and then a Jeff Beck album, dude. I'll never know the name. I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like my first introduction to music, and just like whoo, and man, it like completely changed my life, and just because I had never really heard anything like that before in my life. Besides, when I'd hang out with my dad, he'd listen to like the local whatever like cool station that was just like on the radio that wasn't like completely pop. So there was like System of a Down on there, but that just like never happened. I just never like got to like listen to any of that. So it was like Appetite for Destruction, that Jeff Beck album, and just like 24 hours a day. If I like could listen to stuff, they were like playing on my ears. And so I don't even know how I like started listening to other stuff. Just like meeting kids at school. That was like really my introduction to everything. Growing up so sheltered and pretty poor too. We were pretty poor, so I just didn't have like access to anything. Not anything, but just like tons of music and stuff to check that stuff out. So that like Slipknot, early on, just like Bullet for My Valentine, like a lot of 80s stuff, man. I'm super into the 80s. Like after Guns N' Roses, it was like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, like just everything from the 80s, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, like super 80s. Love it. And just getting.
What sparked your interest into disc golf? That's a fun sport that we played a lot in high school. And then I'm like, I see all the disc golf things right behind you, and I was like, he's really into disc golf. What got you into that? Did you just happen upon it one day, or?
No, I was like chilling. It was it's so lame to talk about. Not really, just because I just like got done with like a breakup or whatever, so I was like super sad, just chilling in my room doing nothing. And my brother was like, "Man, you're being really lame. You're like super bumming everyone out. We've been doing this disc golf thing. You're gonna come play." And I was like, "Man, that sounds really stupid. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to go throw frisbees in the park. That sounds super lame." And I went. And I threw the disc and went like 60 feet up in the air and then like 30 feet behind me. And it was the worst throw ever, but it was super fun.
Yeah.
And so I just kept doing it. And it was just like the best distraction ever, man. Disc golf, it's gnarly, dude. Like it completely changed my life, the way I look at like any situation. It's golf, and you can't be like some super hot-headed dude and expect to go out on a golf course and shoot well. If you can, you're a god, and I applaud you. But as soon as I start to think negatively, like boom, there's the game. Like it's over, man. As soon as you let those thoughts creep in, you're gone. So it's all about like mental fortitude and really maintaining your attitude.
What's the best shot you've ever made at disc golf? Have you ever gotten like a hole in one?
Yeah, I have a few, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I played like 5-6 hours a day. So right when I stopped, I think I was like at 7 or 8, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really a game that we have a few disc golf things around here, but I definitely have not played since like high school. But I should definitely get back into that, just do it once or twice because it is a lot of fun.
Oh,
and
it's so fun.
I recommend it
so
to everyone
fun.
out there too. It may seem like lame at first, like you said. Believe me, I was thinking the same thing. But once you start throwing that thing, and you're like, oh, this is actually too bad. It's a great way to just go outside and get some fresh air. So when you guys were starting out the band, what was, in your opinion, probably the biggest hurdle that you guys had to overcome, and how'd you guys do it?
I mean, I don't know if I can speak on like everybody's behalf, but for me, it was just like I never really played the bass before, and I didn't want to be just like some dude that like, you know, played guitar. Because right now, I mean, I've been playing bass for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but I've been playing guitar about 13, 14 years now, and I just did not want to be that dude that's like, oh, he plays bass, but like you can tell he's just like the failed guitar player. Both of my guitar players, Dan and Brett, they're amazing, dude. They shred so hard. They're like super good. It's like way better than I ever was when I played guitar. Even though I've been playing guitar for a while now, like, you know, almost like half my life or whatever, and or more than half. But yeah, they shred super hard, and I just didn't want to be that dude that's just like the failed guitar player that's playing bass. So for me, it was really removing myself from like being that guitar player and just like really delving into being a real bassist and understanding like the role the bassist is supposed to fill. Like, I don't want to be that dude just like playing everything the guitar players play, because like anybody can do that, you know. And it's just like boring, man. That's the main thing, is I don't want to be up there bored. So really just like challenging myself to take playing bass as seriously as I do, and then just being able to get good enough, fast enough to keep up with the dudes that are just like writing all this gnarly stuff. And I want to write stuff that's gnarly too, but it's hard because I don't want to be that dude that's just like, you know, that guitar player playing the bass.
Yeah.
But other than that, finding a vocalist has been the toughest one, man.
Yeah.
That's been the hardest thing right now.
Yeah. So when you're playing bass, we've had a lot of bass players on here, and a lot of people call them like the redheaded stepchild of the band. They're kind of the unforgotten part of the band. They're very underappreciated, but you kind of named it. But what would you say is the most underappreciated part of the bass player in the band? And then when it comes to people, like overall in the crowd, people who aren't really into bands, what would you say is their biggest misinterpretation of the bass guy?
For me, I think like, I mean, live and on a record, dude, like if you listen to any mix and you just like take the bass out, I mean, you're going to hear the difference immediately. For metal, especially for like metal or rock, all the guitars are going to sound thin. It's just not going to sound like powerful, and they're just like present, you know, there, like moving air, you know. So I mean, like on the record, there's that. The bass just really helps fill out like that, you know, that feeling space where it really like it moves, not just like your ears, you know, like guitar and singing, where you're just like really hearing it. With the bass, you're like, you can feel it, you know. It's that instrument that, like, you know, you hit that low open note or whatever, and it's just like it's vibrating everybody, especially in like at a show, especially live, dude. Like, just hitting a low note, and if the bass is mixed, like, you know, if they can like not just like drown it out or whatever, it really, when you can feel it, man, I just really feel like it makes a difference. And then as far as like a role in the band, I mean, for me, at least for Vida, I just try to do something like that's gonna like help anything. I mean, as long as it makes like the riff, whatever's happening at the point with the drums and the guitars that's going on, as long as whatever I'm doing isn't like taking away anything or stepping on anyone's toes, and helps make the part overall sound better. Like if it's not going to elevate like what's going on in the moment, like why would you want it to be your part that's like in the song, you know? So I mean, it doesn't necessarily everything has to be like super gnarly, but I mean, just anything. The main goal always, whenever I write anything to anything, whether it's guitar to something or drums or bass, is to just take whatever's going on to help elevate it. So that, I mean, if it doesn't sound better, yeah, then you're doing it wrong, you know. If it sounds good, it sounds good.
So now I'm just going to call you guys Vida from now on, because I don't want to get the name mixed up. But
yeah, it's super easy.
Yeah. So what was the inspiration behind that name for the band?
Oh man, so it's funny because I was actually like the last dude to join the band, but with the two guys that started it, Dan and Brett, the guitar players, I think it's a Spanish word, I'm pretty sure, and it stands, I think it roughly translates to like this hidden life. And I think, I'm trying to remember what the original name was, and I'm blanking on it super hard. I just remember the other one not being as smooth, man. Like it just didn't really roll off the tongue. And they were, I think when I joined, it was going to be Vida Oculta, but they were still maybe thinking about changing it. But man, when I heard that was the name, I was like, oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like it just sounds good. Yeah, Vida Oculta, This Hidden Life. Like if you're going to translate it to English, so it sounds good, and then it sounds cool because it's like, you know, you look into it and it's not just like blah the blah or like this thing to the, you know what I mean? Like how
Absolutely.
generic some bands can get with their names sometimes.
Yeah, totally. I can totally understand that. So now you guys are the most interesting when it comes to the bands we've had on here because you guys are just an instrumental band. What was the decision process like choosing that?
I think at first it was just that they couldn't find a vocalist, and they were gonna sing. I think Dan and Brett were gonna sing, and it just wasn't. It wasn't working out. They just couldn't do. I mean, they can both sing well. Don't get me wrong, pretty good actually, and they just can't play guitar and like sing at the same time just because what they're doing is so involved, you know. And we didn't want anything to take away from the actual music, just to sacrifice us having words over our songs. So we just thought, man, like, you know, fuck it, let's just play it how it is. It sounds good. When I heard the stuff, I was like, hell yeah, this can be an instrumental band. Let's fucking do it, man. Like, you know, like I said earlier with like the Jeff Beck, the album that I did listen to was just all instrumental. And just from a really early age, Animals as Leaders is one of my favorite bands. Growing up, like playing saxophone, it's just always like symphonic music. There's no singing. Orchestral music, there's no singing. Classical music, there's no singing. So I just always really liked the instruments. So as soon as the option for it to be an instrumental band popped up, I'm just like 150% behind it. Like, yeah, let's make it happen, dude. Obviously, Chon and Polyphia being huge inspirations. Angel Vivaldi, Jeff Loomis, all their solo stuff. Like, Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and like Yngwie have been doing it forever with the instrumental, like solo guitar, shredding albums. But now, like, I feel like right now more than any other time, it's like more acceptable to just not have a singer. Because right now there's more musicians than there ever have been on the earth, with just being so many people. So with so many musicians, it's like, oh man, I play guitar and there's this music that's just like all guitar. Like, yes, dude, I want all of that. Give me all of it. Or like even, like with the bass, Michael Haggins is like one of my favorite bass players. I love, I think he has three records out that are just his solo, like that dude's, record. And I love him, man. That's like what I was listening to when I really was like, I want to be a bass player. Victor Wooten, Stanley Clark, Paco, all the like bass players, man. Yeah. And I just love instrumental music, dude.
Yeah, my personal introduction to instrumental music, well, obviously besides like the classical composers, because back then they never really did singing parts besides Beethoven or whatever. But my first modern one was actually playing Guitar Hero, and it was Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson.
Yes. Oh my God,
I heard that and I said, oh my God, people actually do that nowadays where they don't have any singing voices? And it sounds, I have it on my iPod and I listen to it at least once a week. I'll listen to that song. It is a great song where just how I never understood how people could actually do that without like having lyrics to go behind them. But when you guys are writing your songs, do you find it harder because like you don't have lyrics to kind of help express like what the melody's gonna feel like, or do you find it easier because you kind of have a general idea just by how you're gonna play it, what the sound, what the general sound of it's gonna be like?
Well, for us when we write, it's more like Dan and Brett will come up with something, and since there's never really been a vocalist present, we're more of like they'll write like maybe a quarter to half a song, and then we'll jam the rest out and figure what should happen next. That's when we structure the song out. But like Brett, he's an amazing guitar player. He's a super big jazz guy, so for him it's not hard to express like melody and to come up with really sweet melodies on his guitar with his jazz background. Dan, he is like he does a lot of singer-songwriter stuff on his free time, a lot of playing the acoustic guitar and singing, and he's just always sang. So melodies on the guitars, he's just always had that like melodic just ear just to be able to come up with cool hooks or whatever, or just like melodies. And for me, like I've just been, like with the symphonic music and the saxophone and the guitar. And like I said earlier, when I started playing guitar, I really got into, Steve Vai, Satch, Malmsteen, Jason Becker, Marty Friedman, Jeff Loomis, Tony McAlpine, all the dudes that were just doing what like Chon and Polyphia are doing right now, but like during the 80s. And it was just more guitar centric, a lot more shred, obviously, because it was the 80s. But the melodic content in a lot of that stuff is really, really good, and it's I guess just that like I've just always had I guess that like I just always listen to that kind of stuff where the guitar is doing the hook, the guitar is doing the singing. So I guess I just think that way anyway, So for me, it's almost easier to just think about how something's going to sound on a guitar or a bass than for me to be like, oh, I'm going to try to sing something because I suck at singing.
So overall, when you guys are coming up, I mean, you have a vast background. You've played almost every instrument in a rock band. So when you're coming up with, or when the guys are coming up with songs, does it help you to kind of understand what it's going to sound like when they're demonstrating it to you guys, knowing that you've played all those instruments?
Yeah, for me, I mean, like, I feel like that just makes it way easier, Like, I play the drums a lot, like you said, the bass a lot, not a lot, the guitar a lot. So it's easier for me to understand a guitar player's brain just because I did it for so many years without doing anything else. And I was just like, oh, guitar player, that's what I wanted to do. And that's how I thought. So, you know what toes not to step on for me jamming with people through high school, other guitar players, kind of like, just like how people, because I feel like with musicians, more often than not, maybe not even more often than not, but it's really easy for musicians to be pretty introverted. Just because you are, like for me, I really am pretty introverted. This is definitely like the first thing like this I've ever done. But for me, it was just so much easier to talk to like my guitars and the instruments that I was playing and the saxophone, just because there's no the negative feedback. You just do whatever to the guitar, and then it's just doing whatever you tell it. You can't just like hear something someone says and just like react to it, and then you just like are dumb and don't have social skills, so you say like the wrong thing and it comes across incorrectly. So someone's like, oh man, that guy, like, something's wrong with that dude or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely easy for me to get where the guitar players are coming from, and it's easier to connect on their level where they're guitar players. Not, I'm a bass player trying to connect with a guitar player. I'm also a guitar player connecting with the guitar player. And then for our drummer Jake, it's especially easy because the drums are just my favorite instrument. And I think that's why I do love the bass so much, because it's like half guitar and half drums. So you can just slap the shit out of that thing if you want to, man. And that's my favorite, just slapping the bass. And for drums, it's easy. I get to connect with Jake on a personal, like drummer to drummer level, because I understand like the point he's trying to get across with his drums. And then I really do think that having the background in both helps me, just the bass. Because like I said, it's just, half and half. It's half guitar, half drums. Well, I played guitar for a long time. I played drums for a long time. And I think I'm able to put those together just real easy to make it so that my bass stuff is really meeting the rest of the band in the middle with being half guitar and half drums, and just helping the song move or helping the song do whatever the song's trying to do.
That's awesome. So obviously you guys have gotten super used to being an instrumental band, but when you guys are performing live, do you guys feel any extra added pressure knowing that there's not going to be someone who sings? Because usually the person who sings takes up 90% of the audience's attention. They're going to be focused on him. They're going to be focused on his lyrics.
Yeah.
So without that, do you feel any extra added pressure? Because the audience, they don't have to eye a specific individual. They're going to be eyeing everyone in the band. Do you ever feel that extra added pressure?
I mean, in the beginning, it was kind of weird because I'd always just been in the background. So I was, in my first band, I was the drummer. Well, I don't talk into a mic ever. And when I do say something, I'm yelling it, and then no one hears me anyway. So I'm just back there hitting stuff and having a good time. So there was none of that pressure. Just like, don't fuck up, pretty much, and don't forget what you're doing or whatever. And then second band, bass, I didn't talk into the mic at all. I didn't do like vocals or anything. So I just got to have fun, worry about playing the bass, and then just be like, like the metal hype man. You're playing bass. It's not like, especially for that band, it wasn't rocket science. Like, I was just pretty much, like I said before, the guitar player playing bass, just in the metal band, which is why I was so adamant on not doing that in the Vida, because I did that in what we built. But I got to have a ton of fun because all the stuff was really easy, and so I would just like, dude, I'm just gonna get down as much as possible, since I'm not doing anything on my instrument. Like, I don't need to be focusing on anything, so I'm gonna focus on having a good time and putting that energy, like you're talking about, out there, so that people will be able. You can't really get energy unless you're gonna give energy. So if I'm like gonna have a real good time on stage, and I'm getting down because it is metal, and it's awesome to to go on stage and just headbang super hard. It's like it's the funnest thing in the world. So yeah, people like resonate with that, And then with Vida, like you said, we don't have a vocalist. It was weird in the beginning just because no one wanted to talk at all. Like Brett, our guitar player, had done it in his previous band, and he was just like, I'm not doing it. Like our first show, he's like, I'm not talking to the mic, not doing it. And so Dan, I was like, Dan, do you want to do it? And he's like, I'd really just rather not, but I'll do it if I have to. So I was kind of like, and being so introverted, I was like, man, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. I'll make myself do it. And it was super shitty and awkward and awful. I like to think I'm better at it now, but I mean, it's mostly just like, hey man, check us out. This is check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. Drop the links and then let them know what's going on. Introduce the song names, and I mean, I'm working on it. Just trying to like work some banter in there. Like I said earlier, we're trying to do it out right now. We'll see where it goes. It's funny, is like it was difficult in the beginning, but I feel like now, since I've been doing it this whole time, just doing all the talking, and like the crowd interaction, I'd almost like miss it if we got a vocalist. I'd still want like a microphone, even if just to like say dumb shit into, or just to talk at all. I mean, I do like some vocals a little bit, so like if I could do that, I'll be like brutal in the background, but other than that, yeah, maybe just a little shit talking.
Exactly. So, also, I was going to ask, when it comes to naming your songs, do you have any difficulty in that? Because I mean, a lot of guys I talk to, obviously, they use the song title from their lyrics like 90% of the time. You guys don't have any lyrics.
Yeah.
When it comes to titling the song, do you guys usually come up with the title after you've got the melody down, or do you have a title down and then you come up with the melody after the title?
That's a pretty good question. Because, like, yeah, you're right. Like, it usually is just, like, a word or three from the lyrics that are the song name, or whatever the song is about lyrically. So for us, we get to do whatever we want, because the song is... there's no lyrics, so technically it's about nothing, besides however it makes you feel when you listen to it. Which is almost cooler in an instrumental band, because it's irrelevant. It isn't, because you're going to feel, since there's no one telling you how to feel what they're singing, you're going to feel however you feel when you listen to the piece of music. So the song name, I feel like you just get to have fun with it. Maybe if you were writing when you were writing, and everyone in the band was drinking a bunch of kombucha or something, you're going to probably name the song something to do with kombucha. Or, you guys all like an anime. I watch anime. So one of the song names will just have like something to do with the anime, where like if you were a weeb and like you heard it and you were like, oh, that's awesome, but like 90% of everyone's not really going to get it. So just like, I mean, in high school, like Devil Wears Prada was, that's what was going around.
Yeah.
And they always had like the silly song names, so it's like, it's always been a part of the game, I think, just like having fun. And it's just really, I think it's just fun not to just like take yourself too seriously, like if I feel like as far as like being in a band goes, the last thing I'm trying to like actually waste brain power on is like naming a song.
Exactly. So one of the big things that we like to discuss on this podcast is performing live, what the thrill of that's like, what it's like performing in front of a lot of people. Now, instrumental band, you guys probably have, again, a unique experience, but what is that feeling like for you when you're on stage and you're performing in front of all these people?
It's fun, dude. It's really fun. I feel like I'm having more fun right now than I ever have in all the bands that I've been in. I think it's just cool that I get to like jump around and move around a lot, and really just, like I said earlier, you're not like, I've been like to a lot of shows, like when I was a teenager, you just go to shows, the bands are coming in, you want to see them, and the worst thing ever was, like, especially being a teenager, not having a job or like not having money to go see a band, and then you get to go see a band and you go see them and they just like stand on stage and they don't do anything and they just stare at their guitars. Like, I feel like that, like if you're up there and you're like shredding like super hard, like I totally get it, by all means. Like, I don't expect anyone to be like, I don't expect Jason Richardson to just be like running around and doing like backflips while he's just completely destroying his guitar in half, you know what I mean? But like, if I'm gonna go see a metal band and there's like breakdowns or there's like heavy parts or whatever, what have you, whatever you want to call them, and you're just like up there, just like standing there, like not doing anything, like that's just bumming me out.
Hey, that's how you get the ladies though, with that sexy pose right there. You just look out in the crowd. Yeah. See, the ladies love it when you act like you don't give a shit.
Oh man, then yeah, I'm doing it wrong.
So,
'Cause,
do you guys have any pre-show traditions? We have a lot of bands on here that like to, have a few shots, have a couple beers. Obviously, you guys aren't doing any vocal warm-ups, but do you guys like to do stuff together, or do you guys mainly just wing it when you get to the venue?
well, I mean, as far as like for me, I like to show up early. I've like legit been ready for this podcast for like 2 hours. I've had everything set up, ready to go. So I just hate being unprepared for anything. It's just like a pet peeve of mine. So if I could show up, if we play at 6, if I could show up like at 4:30 and that's cool, then that's like, in my world, that's perfect. So I like to show up early, load in as soon as possible, just get situated, figure out where everything is. Where's the bathroom? Like, are we getting drinks or whatever? When are we playing? Just whatever, where's like the plugins are at. I just want to know everything. And so after I know all that and I'm like comfortable in the building and I know how everything's going to go, if I haven't eaten, I'll grab something to eat. If, I mean, we're in Oregon, so there's just like beer everywhere, and it's really good beer. So wherever I'm at, if there's something that looks good or I haven't tried it, I'm definitely going to try that out. I used to drink a lot of liquor. I don't anymore. Definitely slow down on that. I got to be to work at like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not trying to slam a bunch of shots and then go like have a hangover and cook all day. I did that for a couple years, and it's really shitty. Yeah. Standing in front of like a 400-degree like grill, and you're just like hungover. It sucks. But I mean, other than all of us, if like there's a green room or an area we can all grab our guitars, like maybe like if a band has like 3 songs or 2 songs left, I like to go like grab my bass and just play for a solid like 10-15 minutes. Especially just because I've been trying to use my fingers more. I've been playing guitar for like 13-14 years. Of course I'm going to use a pick, just at the beginning so that I can learn how to do it. And I've really been trying to transition into just using my fingers because I slap a lot. And so I've definitely got to be warmed up for that. Like I really got to sit down and really do some exercises and play my bass before I just go on there. I'm like, well, here we go, But yeah, other than that, and like sitting around and maybe having a beer or two, eating and warming up for like a solid 15-20 minutes. No, nothing weird. Like we don't like
don't make any sacrifices or anything.
No, I'm not cutting any goats in half or anything or these monkey brains.
So when you're performing, I like to ask this question as well. Does time seem to go by really fast, or does time seem to stand still, or is it a mixture of both?
Oh, dude, it's so slow, dude. And I think that's the best part is, for me, the show, I don't want to say it feels like it takes forever, because playing shows is just like legit my favorite thing to do in the world. I have a lot of hobbies, disc golf and all the different instruments, and cooking, video games too. I know everyone plays video games, and then just like listening to music as well. Nothing to me is like just more fun than getting up on stage and just being like, well, this is my band, this is what we've worked on. We practice a lot, so check it out. I hope you dig it, and I'm just gonna get up here and do my thing and have a good time. And if you can vibe with that, then it's like just the greatest feeling in the world. It's because like I said, I've been to a lot of shows and I've seen a lot of my favorite bands live, and nothing is cooler than like being in that crowd and feeling that same feeling everyone else is feeling while they're playing all those different songs and your favorite songs, and being able to connect with like the vocalist or the guitar player on a personal level. It's just, it's just the coolest thing, man. So yeah, it takes forever. It slows down, so I get to enjoy it for even longer than if it just like sped up. And sometimes I have really bad actually ADD, which I think is why I have so many.
Same here. Yep.
So like while I'm playing, I'll definitely be like thinking about work or thinking about like everything except for playing a show. But when I I snap back into, I'm obviously still enjoying playing it, but it's totally not up to me. My brain's just like over here, over there, over here.
Or you get that hyper focus too, where you're just like completely in the zone, and you're just like, oh my god, I don't think about anything else.
You're like super zoned in.
Yep.
It's like everything's going super perfectly, and you're not missing anything, and like you feel like the crowd's really into it.
Yeah, you just feel like out of your body, and you're like, oh my god, this is unbelievable. Yeah, I get those moments too every once in a while, and they are. Yeah,
there's like 10 people there, and you're just like, this is the great.
We're the next Beatles, everyone. Get out here.
Yes, all 5 of you shall know.
You hear are witnessing history right now. So, please, I was going to wait until the very end to ask this, but please tell me that you guys have a disc golf merch for your band.
You know what, man? I've been thinking about it for a while. I would totally do it. Definitely for me,
Mm-hmm.
so that I could. I know some people think it's lame to like wear your band tee or like your band T-shirt or excuse me, I just said tee twice, a hat or whatever out in public. Well, no, I think people think people just think it's lame to wear your stuff on stage, right? Is that what it is?
I don't really care. I mean, as long as if you have a cool shirt, if you have a cool shirt, man, you can wear it as long as you want.
It's free advertisement.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you just do it?
Well, obviously, if you're like going in for like a job interview, if you're at your job and you're wearing your band tee, then that might be a different story. But like,
right? Like, yo, I'm in a band. I'm gonna need a lot of time off. Sorry.
I'll have your meal ready in 15 minutes, but come check out my band while you're waiting.
Yeah, right. I'll just put this on my phone. Yeah, I'll show you, bro. Don't worry about it. Yeah, dude, maybe, I don't know, a disc with like the Vida Oculta logo on it or something would be pretty tight. Or like a dry fit, so like you can rep it on the course. That'd be pretty sweet, actually. Damn, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I'll give you 100% of the copyright on that, though.
Oh, yeah,
I like to help out. But now we go to our favorite part of the podcast, the audience favorite, the 5 questions at the back. Well, now the 6 questions, because I've added on a 6th question where I ask you 6 random questions just to get to know you guys a little bit better. I write down the results, and I'll release them once we get to a certain episode. It was going to be episode 50, but we're well past that now, so I'm thinking probably about 100. We'll tally up the results and see what our most popular answers are. So for our first question, out of all the songs that have ever been written in the history of music, what is one song you personally wish you'd come up with yourself and why?
Oh, man. Personally, I think anything that Tosin has written. That first Animals as Leaders record, I heard it pretty close to like when it had come out, I think, when it had like first dropped. And dude, it completely changed my life, man. Like I said before, I think like in my like musical listening career or whatever, I had a lot of instrumental bands with the Satch and the Vi and Jason Becker, Marty Friedman. And I always loved that, and that was just always my favorite thing to listen to was all those guys' music. And once I found out what Animals as Leaders was, I was like, oh my god, it's all this awesome, super melodic, shreddy shit from the 80s, and then it's like super heavy too, and it's really progressive with the key changes and the time signature changes, and it's like, just like that first record to me, there is no bad song on it. Every song on that record is just like, they're just all perfect, and that's just like it's pretty much just like anything that guy's ever written. I just wish I could. Yeah.
All right, I'll just write down that all. So now for our second question: out of all the artists that have ever lived, dead or alive, doesn't matter. You can pick either one. If you could perform live for one show with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh man. Yeah, the first one, I'm gonna have to say the first one that came to my mind, and it's the only one I can think about now. Michael Jackson, man, huge influence on me, especially early on. Like when I was a teenager, really got into all of his music. Him as a performer, him as an artist, just completely changed the way that I think. I mean, obviously, everyone looked at like what it was to be a performer, He completely put on like an entire show and like just command an audience. And so Michael Jackson would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be. That's one of my top 3 as well. So now for our third question, out of all the venues on the planet, if you were given the choice of performing at any venue in the world, where would you perform?
Oh, I do not know. I'm gonna have to think about that. I think honestly for me, just because it's not like a huge venue or anything, but just because that's like where I went to see all the like metalcore and metal bands that I listened to when I was really like playing guitar and drums. If I could just like play the Hawthorne and it was like completely packed, like just like the top, the bar and the top is packed, like just everything, and it's just packed, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah. So now we get to the real nitty-gritty. Now we get to what is your guilty pleasure song that you don't think maybe anyone else in your own band or anyone else that you know would think that you enjoy?
And like that. Oh man, I don't know. That's tough because my bandmates know me.
Or you can do one, that people know. Well. But like just from us looking at you right now, that you wouldn't know.
Like a song I could just jam on all
No
day.
Nickelback, by the way.
Oh man. I think the number one song that I put on and no one would think I put on, that I just loved to hear because it's just a jam, is Sylvester. Song is "Do You Want to Funk?"
Oh yeah.
Check that out, and it funks pretty hard.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out later. Yeah, that sounds great. So now, guilty pleasure genre.
Genre, oh man, that I just like don't want people to know about. So that's the thing, like
K-pop.
oh, you got me. For me, like throughout high school and stuff, I was just always like with like the Sylvester "Do You Want Funk" song. I just always like listen to stuff like that. Like I've just always listened to like the Whispers and like Earth, Wind and Fire, and kind of just like that Motown, you know.
Oh yeah.
Grooving. Yeah.
I listen to that stuff all the time too. Yeah, that's great. It's great music. I don't care what anyone says.
No, that's not even the guilty pleasure. So
Yeah.
I think for me, since I like that so much, I always just like playing stuff like that. There's not really a ball, like I think the genre I could just say people would, if I put it on, they'd like, just weird, Zach is listening to this.
Yeah.
But like something I do listen to, like not allowed around a lot of people, just like real smooth R&B songs.
Oh yeah.
It's like real smooth, yeah. If I'm just chilling, that's always pretty tight.
That's great. So, and then for our last question in the questionnaire segment, if there was one musician or artist that you could erase from existence, the person would still be alive. They just would have never became a musician. But
Oh man, that's
all their music would disappear from everyone's collective memory. No one would know who they were.
God.
Who would it be?
Damn, dude. That's pretty cutthroat right there. I'm kind of interested in some of those other answers, honestly. See how ruthless everyone is.
I've had a few Justin Biebers. I've had a few.
See, and I feel like that's like the stock answer.
Yeah.
Of course.
I've heard
Especially
Insane Clown Posse was our
genre.
last one.
What was that?
Our Insane Clown Posse was our last one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of out of the box, but I feel like especially for like the genre, especially metal, everyone's always like, oh, you know, Justin Bieber die, Chad Kroeger die, you know. Damn, I gotta pick someone to just like never have a musical career.
You gotta just pick like a one-hit wonder guy.
Oh, dang, but those are always the best,
Yeah.
man. They came and did their thing and then they fucked off.
That's true. That's true.
You know what? I'll just say it. No, I can't. I was gonna say, to just not have a career. I'll just do it, even though I enjoy it, but I wouldn't miss it. That Milli Vanilli, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I think we could do without. All they did was get rich, and then they gypped us anyway.
Exactly.
So I'll say Milli Vanilli. I'll do that.
So one of the things that this podcast also really taught me, I'm from the Minneapolis area, is that Minneapolis has a huge metal scene that I would have never guessed. You're from Oregon, you know, the Pacific Northwest. So what would you say is the dominant genre of music in your area?
Oh man, definitely like that like kind of like indie, more singer-songwriter vibe, kind of more like acoustic-y, or maybe like a soft cocktail drum kit. If you're chilling around in Portland, it's really easy to kind of walk down the street, especially downtown, and see, you know,
flannel bands.
Not even that. Like like I was in Portland maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I saw this chick. She was in a real nice dress, and she was singing into a real small like battery powered PA. And, excuse me, and the guy just had like I said a real small cocktail kit, and they just jammed, and a guitar player, and they just jammed on some jazz, just like for like 40 minutes, and it was awesome. And then you can walk like down the streets a little bit more, and I've seen dudes just like by themselves with like a tiny powered amp, shredding some blues with like no backing track or anything. And then the like singer songwriter troubadour club scene's pretty poppin' here, up in Portland. Just probably just like indie bands. There is a metal scene. It's just definitely a lot smaller. There's not too many places where it's like, this is the fucking metal bar, especially where I live. You know, there's no like, this is the fucking punk bar. This is the metal bar. This is like the indie bar. This is the jazz club. In Portland, of course, like you're gonna be able to, you know, all the scenes, the punk, the pop, you know, playing the bossa nova. It's like the bigger places everywhere. Everything's up there, and like unfortunately, Vida Oculta isn't really a huge part of that scene, just because it is an hour away and we don't have any music out right now. So it's kind of tough convincing people to let us play shows. But yeah, hear the most popular thing, I mean, it's organ, you know, all that hipster shit.
So, when it comes to you guys, like you said, you don't have any music out yet. Is that a work in progress? Are you guys currently working on an album?
Yeah, we just went to, I won't say just, but, like probably like 8 or 9 months ago, we recorded with Mike Somm. It was super awesome. Great guy. Made us feel, it was like my first experience really being in a real studio. It made me feel super comfortable. A lot of fun. Up in Portland. We did 2 singles, 2 songs. We're working on getting like kind of like a 2 videos put together, and then we just kind of released those. So those should be out within the month. So yeah, check out the Facebook page, Vida Oculta, VIDA OCULTA, in case you're wondering how to spell it. For some information on when those will be coming out. And we just got done doing. I was in Portland last night actually, doing a kind of like a live music video thing. There's a guy named Scotty Fisher. Check him out. He does a lot of the band photography and like videography up here in Portland. He's awesome. Super cool guy. Really professional. Does an amazing job. Him and his older brother are running like kind of like an audio tree live vibe thing where they're having bands come in, recording them live. Like I said, Scotty's awesome with the camera, so he's getting like all these super cool single shots of all these bands playing, and they're just putting it up for free, just trying to help everybody out, get it out there. That should be coming out definitely within like a month. So again, like Instagram, you know, Facebook.
For sure. I'll leave all those links, all that stuff down below. And I'd like to ask these final 2 questions before we wrap it up here.
Awesome.
If someone were to come up to you on the street and say, hey, we're forming this new band, we really want it to be a success, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give that person in order to make their band a success?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still trying to figure out what the key is, but honestly, from the era and the day and age or whatever that we're in right now, it's all about selling your product. And you know, I think a lot of bands' problems, especially like mine is one of, like we definitely fall victim to this like train of thought that, well, we're just gonna grind, DIY, play shows, something will happen. That's not really how it works anymore. You got to get on that. You know, you got to be on Instagram, you got to be on YouTube, you got to be pushing content, you got to be selling a product, getting people interested in, you know, not only just your music. It's not good enough, you know, to just like be a cool band and like have good music like it was 20, 30 years ago. If you're writing killer songs and people want to listen to it, they're going to listen to it. Now, you know, people gotta like you. They gotta be interested in more than just, you know, the music at face value. It's one thing to like just listen to a band, you know, but then to like be able to say everyone in the band's name, say that you have a bunch of their merch, really know what they're doing all the time. That's kind of the level that everyone's at. That's what the level I've always been at. The bands I like, I know everyone that's in the band. I know like everyone that's left the band, who was on what album, like really delving into like the bands that I like I really like them. So right now, I think the big mistake people are making is they're really missing out on the like the gravy train, that cash cow that is, and the necessary evil that is social media.
Yep. Absolutely. It takes up way too much time, believe me, I know, promoting this podcast, doing all that
I bet, man.
hoopla. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So, and I gotta say, probably the most popular answer we have to that question is just finding people that you also enjoy getting along with, or that you can actually tolerate. Yeah. That's probably one of the huge ones too. But lastly, if you were able to talk to yourself 5 years ago, what would be the best advice musically that you could give yourself?
Musically, well, I think for sure, I've been playing music for more than half my life. I'm 26, so I started that when I was like, you know, 9 or 10, so it's like 16, 17 years. And throughout a lot of that, I took a lot of really big breaks where I wasn't not progressing, just like, you know, like with guitar, you get into a state where you're just kind of playing the guitar, you're not practicing the guitar you're playing. Well, you're complacent. I just took breaks for like years at a time where I just wasn't touching anything and I wasn't really focusing on my musical career. So if I could talk to myself 5 years ago, I'd definitely say, hey man, you need to get back there and put, you know, your nose to the, you know, the grindstone or whatever, and really get in there and woodshed. You know, if you want to play guitar, bass, and drums, do each one for an hour a day. If you want to do vocals too, like cut it down. Maybe you do each one for like 30 minutes a day, or you just focus on a single one each different day or whatever. But yeah, I think the main thing is just really hit it and hit it hard and don't stop. You know, don't let off the gas. Just don't waste your time and just focus.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more. And you guys definitely, I mean, these guys haven't released anything yet, so I don't have anything to compare them by, but just by listening to Zach here, I mean, I really, really enjoy. I really think these guys are onto something. I highly recommend. Again, I'll leave all the links to all their stuff down below. As soon as you get something released, you let me know, and I'll plug the crap out of it on your and any of those videos that you talk about, man.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate having you on. Again, Vida Oculta. Check out for these guys in the near future. I'd say like in the coming month, like they said, when they have their stuff off, I'll have links to all that stuff down below in the videos that I release during that time. And I mean, Zach, it was a pleasure having you on. It was great talking to you. You need to come on ever again. You're absolutely more than welcome to. And again, for all the promotions, man, yeah, absolutely. Or we could get the whole band on maybe next time. We'll see. We'll work something out. Yeah,
absolutely. We're down.
So I mean, is there anything else? Are there any bands that you know of that you'd like to plug real quick right before we end? Or
absolutely, yeah. I'm the local scene man, so definitely make sure you check out Stand Trial. Check out Mandark. They just won the local battle of the bands. Actually, congrats to them, dude. They're killing it. Yeah. Check out Wild Ire. Make sure you check out Dead Thrall. Of course, I want to do a shout out list and I forget. Yeah, I mean, if you can, just type Salem, Oregon in and just look at some bands.
Yeah.
Type in local bands or something, hit them all up. I mean, people, you know, there's bands out there that are playing your local club and your local dive bar almost every single night. So get on Google, check out what's going on in your town, and just fucking get out there and support art, man.
Exactly. One thing people don't realize is that even the Rolling Stones had to play at some dive bars first to start out with.
Oh, yeah,
everyone's got to start. So you never know, and you got to support your local scene, man, because that's what's most important. So
your favorite band was a local band at one time. So.
Exactly. So Vida Oculta, everyone, check these guys out. Links down below. Again, really appreciate having you on the show, and we wish you nothing but the best in the future. But this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great night, everyone.